This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Eko Electricity Distribution Company, Eko DisCo, has sold 60% of its equity stake to Transgrid Enerco Limited. The Eko DisCo, which currently serves the southern part of Lagos State and will see, now that it has been acquired by Transgrid Enerco, will see the new owners tasked with over 70 districts in Lagos, spanning the Central Business District to the Apapa ports as well as Agbara community in Ogun State. So joining us this morning to discuss the implications and possibilities for the sector now is the team lead at Platform Africa, Adeola Yusuf. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us on the conversation.
A beautiful morning to you. It's my pleasure to be on the program this morning.
I'm curious as to what you think the most immediate benefit, I guess, to the consumers or the customers of Eko DisCo. What do you think the most immediate benefit would be from this merger?
Okay, it is actually, not a merger, but the sale of the shareholding of the former company in the Eko DisCo. Let me quickly give a bit of background before talking about the benefits for the customers. First of all, I remember that the first building or the first structure for electricity, the defunct CN in Nigeria, the first structure in the Nigerian electricity distribution ever in Nigeria was that building on Marina, that is Eko Electricity, with the status of Jongo in front of it. That is one. Number two, you'll note that it is one of the electricity distribution companies that is doing fine. If you want to use the rating of the Minister of Power, Mr. Adelabu, when he was mentioning electricity distribution companies that are doing fine, he mentioned Eko, he mentioned Ikeja and Abuja and Benin. So, having said that, it is not to say that the company is not doing fine. But because of one thing that happened on Friday, the 1st of November 2013, which is the privatization of the electricity distribution value chain, where the former power holding company, where the government sold 60% shareholding in the defunct power holding companies of Nigeria to private entities. That thing has now the fact that if the company is not doing fine, or the company needs further funding or further capital, they can go to the market. So it is not the electricity. That company is not on in the armpit or on the grip of the government any longer. And it is the normal practice in a private entity that if you need capital, what you do is to ensure that you go to the market to go and look for more capital. So the 60% that was sold, sold by the government to a private entity, is the one that private entity wants to now, sell to another private entity. And the sense in that is to get more funding, to get more capital. Remember that the amount, that the board that 60% will not be the amount that 60% is going in the market now. A report by these days says that it's $200 million and so on and so forth. So now to talk about the benefit, what that will mean is that there's going to be more funding injection into that system. I'm talking of the Eko Electricity Distribution System. And in as much as there's more funding, there's more capital, and when that is due, and there's going to be a new management. When a new management comes on board, you'll remember that what they are going to do is to do right sizing. If there is a need to change some assets, if there is a need to do this and that, what they will first of all do is to audit and do right sizing. So I believe that it is going to be to the benefit of the customer, because at the end of everything, the customers will still be the bottom line.
So, Mr. Yusuf, let me take you back to the 60% stake, right, the acquisition. Before now, the narrative in the sector was that, look, we're not profitable. And this is despite the fact that Eko DisCo is one of the better performing or best performing discos across the country. So before now, the narrative was that, look, this industry, we're not making as much money. Things are tight in terms of capital funding and whatnot, and being able to even make a profit in the first place. But An acquisition like this paints a different picture. Does this change the landscape or the outlook for the electricity sector in 2025? Does this mean that we might likely do you think it's a signaling that we might get more acquisitions pop up across other DisCos in the country?
Okay, a fact that has to be established that acquisition has been, happening in the distribution platform of the electricity value chain. Remember that, this one is even a better acquisition because it's happening from a private entity to another private entity. Remember, more than 4 DisCos in Nigeria are already in the armpit of the AMCON. You will remember that some banks, have acquired, if you want to start mentioning names, you know that Abuja Electricity is being, taken over by the UBA and, and so on and so forth, as a result of lack of liquidity in that sector. So this one is happening from a private to a private. You can see that it's just a healthy acquisition. Like I said earlier, acquisition is not something that is so new to private practice. When the company is not doing as expected, or when the company needs more funding, what they do is to look inward and sell some part of that, the shareholding. But this one is, different because of the fact that it's just the 60%. Anyone that is buying 60%, you understand, the person is, as good as buying the entire company, because when it comes to sitting down, the company will, take a larger share of the fee. You understand? So acquisition is not new to distribution, and in fact, it's not new to private practice. What that means is that when you need capital, when you need more capital, when you need more funding injection, what you do is to just look inward, sell a part of your shareholding to other people, invite them to for better management.
So Mr. Yusuf, if I may, and you're right, I understand all of this. I'm wondering whether the influx is not the right way to describe it, but the entrance of another private stakeholder, right, a private company coming into the space, there are a couple of questions it raises. Will we likely see recapitalization for the DisCos this year? But also, when private entities enter into the business, what they're looking for is profits, right? So we still need to talk about what profit margins will look like. Will there be a potential push for we already know with Band A, Band B, and all the other bands, right, what the price difference happens to be. Will we see more push for an increase in prices for the other bands? Are we likely to see a baseline of infrastructural, investment into infrastructure within these DisCos, or if you like, this particular DisCo? So these are the potential things that we're now looking at if more private entities enter the space.
Okay, so we need to get some clarification. A private entity is already in that space. What is yes, is already in that space. Like I said, all the distribution companies in Nigeria, 60% shareholding belongs to private entities. And this happened on Friday, November 1st, 2013. And if you look at it, it's about over 10 years now that we have private entities already participating. So the fear is not that private entity is coming in again. The concern now is that, and I agree with you what you raised about, trying to maximize profit. That is always what happens in the mind of every every business owner, particularly when it has to do at the private, space. So I will agree with you that those that are coming in will be coming in with the mindset of maximizing profit. But fact that has to be established is that this, electricity distribution, space is already, if I want to use the word, if the customers are already mixed dry, and you remember that they don't have the power to personally determine the tariff. They have to resort to the NEC. It is a regulated market. And like we said earlier, we have the band A, we have the band. I'm not saying that they cannot come up with another, English or vocabulary, but fact established that Nigerians are already at the peak of, when it comes to, payments, when it comes to, tariffs in that sector. And like you said earlier, private entities will keep saying that they are not making profit. But if you look at their books, you see that they are not doing badly. The only concern is that the investment, the the investment they are putting in that sector is not up to what we expect, because up to now, over 50% of customers are still being put on estimated billing, and everyone expects that they need to invest in those areas of music, particularly. You understand? So we expect them to invest more, even the fact that they will still have that maximizing profit, orientation. But it's a market that is being regulated by NEC, and and it's a market that all Nigerians are, putting attention into now as a result of, overbilling that has happened in recent past.
Mr. Yusuf, thank you very much for your time and your expertise on this conversation. Adeola Yusuf is the team lead at Platform Africa. He joined us this morning to speak about the Eko Electricity Distribution Company, that's Eko DisCo's, having 60% of its equity stake acquired by Transgrid Enerco Limited. And we discussed, of course, the implications for the electricity sector and the possibilities that, on the one hand, could affect customers as well as the sector on a much wider note.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.